everyone. Hello, hello. Sound check on the. Okay, we're good. All right. Finally solved that technical problem. Well, welcome to Friday. Since we are probably no longer doing classes on Saturdays, I think Friday classes are probably going to be making a comeback. There's some interesting stuff coming down the line. Oh, we got more people coming in. Um, uh, um, I don't have anything specific to announce just yet, but just know that there's going to be some Tuesdays is I'm hoping to keep Tuesdays going as well as Fridays. Um, but I'm hoping to tap in some other folks to help start taking over on Tuesdays. So that'll be great. There'll be a diverse range of material, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. I'm just gonna give maybe like another half a minute or so for folks to show up, but I think everyone who signed up is here, so maybe we should just get started. Um, let's go ahead and salute in, and then we'll do some warm-ups. All right. Today is going to be. Well, I'll explain that in a second. All right. So let's just grab our sword-like object on the left shoulder. Oktun, begrüße. All right. Let's put these objects aside, and today is going to mostly be a post Thanksgiving workout day. So we'll be doing our normal cut and thrust routine with a bunch of other additional stuff. I know not everyone's going to be able to do like push-ups and squats and all those types of things based on um, just where your body's at right now. Because of like I know I can't really do squats because of my knees, so I'll be kind of half-assing it. But if you can, do what you can, and if you need to do alternative things, please feel free. I'm going to be doing some research and hopefully have some alternate stuff for folks. We'll get to that in just a minute. So let's go ahead and start our warm-ups. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the way down. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, grab your swords, or sword-like object. I'm going to try not to scratch my ceiling. All right, so let's go into the Vomtog or the High Vomtog. Hold on, I got some messages. Oh, that might be on my side. Hold on. Okay. All right. Back now? All right. Sorry, my battery was running low, so it was going a little funky. Everyone still hear me okay? Okay, very good. All right. I think the... all right, so let's go into the High Vomtog. Hoik Vomtog. We're going to strike to Einhorn. And... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're going to strike all the way through. Actually, I see there's a few folks who are using hammers and other kind of like front-weighted, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. I want you to keep using them. But for all of these cuts, I don't want you to stop early at like the Einhorn. Just go all the way through. Because what's one of the issues I'm learning about with weighted trainers, I mean, the first one's fine. Einhorn is fine because this is a very high cut. But especially when it comes to the long point, it ends up, what we start doing is we start putting on, like I can show you real quick. Sorry, everyone, we interrupt this cutting session for a lesson. This is something that I was doing wrong with my weighted trainer training, is I was using it, again, this is fine because it's much more of a forward action, but once we start getting to long point, I'm finding one of the things to watch for is that you start putting on the brakes early because you know you have to stop here, right, to be in long point. But it's a heavy object, right? Much heavier than we're used to, whether it being a sharp or a feather shrouds or something, right? So what we end up doing is we start putting on those brakes up here. And so if they're, let's say we were trying to cut like a target or something, we're stopping before our target. We start building in muscle memory of stopping right before our target. So if you have a heavy weighted trainer like this, it's okay for the Einhorn because you can kind of cut forward. You can really cut into the object. But if for everything here, cut all the way down and just be cut and think about where you're starting to apply the brakes. You don't want to be applying the brakes here. You want to just stop moving your hands. All right? So just a little tip from my teacher that I'm passing on to all of you. All right. All right, so to long point. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now let's cut all the way down to Alber. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Alright, so either in the high vom tog or the shoulder vom tog, and we're going to cut right over how. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet. And left Oberhau. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. Left Oberhau, right Unterhau. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch sides. We're going to do right Oberhau, left Unter. So here you can either begin on the shoulder or high vom tog. Let me make sure I'm not going to knock over my bookshelf here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's go into the right Stier or Stier or Ox or oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, Mittelhau. Duh. I might. Yeah, I'll have room. All right, Mittelhau. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch sides. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, now let's go to the right ox, or right Stier, depending on what you're using, or I guess prima if you're using rapier. I forget what the saber is. Okay. Now I don't have this room to step, so I'm going to begin with my right foot forward. But if you have the space, start with your left forward, take the step. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, into the right neighborhood. Same thing. If you have the space to take the step and swing your sword object, do it. If not, begin with that right foot forward. Und, eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Great. Switch sides. Let's go to the left ox oder Stier. Oberhau mit Tritt. If you have the space. Tritt. If not, begin with that left foot forward. Okay? And eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. Sieben. Acht. Neun. 10. Good. Okay, into the Neben on the left. Step if you can. Und eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. Sieben. Acht. Neun. 10. Okay. Let's do some thrusting practice. So, into Flug on the right. We're going to step and extend to ox on the left. Alright? And eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. Sieben. Acht. Neun. 10. Sehr gut. Okay, so back into that Flug on the right. We're going to thrust into ox on the right. Und eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. Sieben. Acht. Neun. 10. Alright, let's switch sides. Let's go into Flug on the left. We're going to thrust to ox on the right. And eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. Sieben. Acht. Neun. 10. Sehr gut. Okay, so from Flug on the left, we are going to go into ox on the left. All right. And eins. Zwei. Drei. Vier. Fünf. Sechs. 7, 8, 9, 10. Sehr good. Okay. From the long point, we're going to do the shooting in. All right. What I want everyone to do is when we focus on the shooting in, I want you to focus on keeping this tip not overly high. I want you to think about a little low, a little lower than you normally would. Think about like right here, where like as if the tip was pointed. If you're looking in a mirror, and if you're looking in a mirror and the tip was pointed like right here. All right. What we're going to do is when we go from here, we're going to go straight. We're going to go out at shoulder height, right? Yeah. So this way, and it, for now, I want from here, from the long point, we are going to rotate our dominant hand so the nails are facing up. All right, and then we're going to do the inverse for the second set. All right. So set 1, from long point, and then in, and then back. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, for this next set, I want you to do the same thing from long point to moving the sword to about shoulder height. But what I want you to do is instead, I want this time the nails to be down. Okay? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, in this long point, we're just going to push forward. Don't worry about turning the sword, just straight in. Now, one thing that is important here is to make sure that when we do this thrust, we don't go too high. A lot of times we have this idea that we need to thrust really high, and basically kind of what we're really practicing to do is aim for here when we really should be aiming for here. All right, and that's mostly a forward motion. So we don't have to worry about moving the sword up. We just have to worry about moving the sword forward and then back. Forward and back. All right? Let's do 10 of these. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, see, we go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. Okay, everyone grab some water, and then we're going to keep doing some cuts. All right, so before we start this next cutting section, what I'd like to do is work on flug and ox a little bit. I know that there's typically what we're normally taught is especially when we're in, say, ox, is that we're taught to kind of direct our tip at our opponent's face. kind of extended and towards our opponent's face. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong, but anyone who's ever worn full kit uh, also knows how exhausting this gets, yeah? Or even if you're fighting, even if you're doing just Mask and Gekken or something, this still gets very exhausting. So one thing that I've been experimenting with, and it's kind of supported by other texts, including the Clooney Effect book, is to actually take this tip and move it offline, right? And kind of keeping the elbow. It's actually better demonstrated on my dominant side, but you'll see that like if I was doing this single-handed, the sword is above my head, but what I've done is I'm taking the shoulder and I'm kind of not chicken winging, but moving the elbow out a little bit this way and holding the sword straight, not towards my opponent, but straight in my body. Now, if I was standing against the wall, now I usually want to have the cross guard like a little, like 45 degrees, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. If I'm facing my enemy here, my sword is like this against the wall. Right? Now this is like this for a couple of reasons. First of all, this is much more comfortable. It allows me to maintain my normal grip, and it also allows it's more comfortable, right? And so those are two big factors. If you're using a single-handed sword, same thing. It's just without the second hand. Yep. So the wrist is rolled open just a little bit to kind of present the sword. Now, what is nice about this position, which is so Ox is this is kind of the prima position from other fencing, from other certain fencing schools. Now, part of the reason, again, and it's difficult to demonstrate without someone else here, but part of the reason that keeping the tip always forward and really extended is problematic for two reasons. One of which is if your arms are already mostly extended, even if you have about 2 to 3 inches of movement, you've used up all of your ability to attack your opponent. On top of that, so you have to move in with your body. And as we've talked about with the last class with our Menser discussion, you really want to make sure that you are the lucky one who gets to attack from first distance or gets to react from first distance, right? And so by then having to step in order to reach your opponent, you are forcing, you have given up the place. You have given up the first distance, right? So, additionally, and on top of that, if regardless of where my sword is, because this goes for Flug as well, like I'm starting to keep my Flug straight ahead to the side instead of right down the middle, because this I believe this works more so with Flug, but it does have to do with Ox as well. If your sword is hanging out like this, your opponent can easily change through with a thrust. It's a lot easier for them to move around your sword if you're presenting them the tip. Now, if the tip is over here, it is a lot easier to move from here to here without your opponent. It takes away their ability to quickly change through, right? They now have to come to your sword in order to do that Dexfexlin motion or that action, right? And so the minute they try to get on the other side, you can take the overbind easily. Same thing here, right? The other thing that is nice about keeping the tip offline, it's offering these openings, right? It's saying, hey, come at me, bro, on either here or here, and that's when you can then react, as the text often says, indes or other work. So when we're doing these next few things, I want you to think, I'd like you to experiment with this as well, because I believe that cutting is a lot easier when you treat this more like prima than like kind of this offensive Ox position. That's not saying this is wrong. This is an active interpretation. This is an action. This is an active Ox, right? Ox can also be a thrusting situation and a thrusting action. That's this. But the guard of Ox must be more comfortable, right? Otherwise, why ever have it? All right? So what I want to do now, I want everyone to go back into Ox or Prima or Stia. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice 3 different little cuts. We've already done this, right? But we're going to do it again from this new position. And I want to just kind of have you think about, was it easier to cut from this kind of recessed Ox where your elbow is out and your wrist is turned up, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Raise your hand if it felt a little easier to cut from that position. No, some kind of, yeah. It could be. It might be also a product of not having a blade-shaped object. All right. So what we can do now, what I want to do now is we're going to do 2 cuts from here, from that ox. We're going to do a left overhow. All right. So what we're going to do is from here, we're going to step forward with our left foot and cut forward. Now that's the big part of this. There's a big part of this is the idea of from here, we want the sword to travel as little as possible forward and come down. So if you're single-handed, it's forward and out. Okay? That's very important, and you'll see why next. So let's do 10 of these. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. So now you'll see. Now what I want folks to do, and this is intentionally done. This is intentional, because it is a cut from the fencing, a long sword system. Still beginning in this ox, we're going to dip the tip back and then forward. The whole idea here is to get a really, really strong cut. All right? If you're single-handed, it's simply this. All right? All right, let's do 10 of these. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. So these 2 different those 2 different cuts are for different things. Clearly, if you're in this ox position, maybe you tried the thrust. The smaller one is for a direct follow-up trying to cut, or maybe you're trying to mutate into something else. And this other cut, this bigger one, is it can be dangerous because what you are doing, you are taking your tip offline, all right? But it can be used as a shield, right? A hanging and a cut, right? And it's also something, it doesn't have to be that deep back. It can just dip and then come forward. But the idea of the whole point of this cut, it's I forget the German translation for it, but the idea is that this cut is supposed to be particularly not Zornhau, because we know what Zornhau is a little different, but it's supposed to be a more damaging blow, right? It's more used for taking advantage of a kind of an opponent who is maybe parrying too much, or has definitely overswung, or you're doing a knock rising, right? Which your opponent is maybe cutting deep, like really, really committed to cutting in. You come out and back through. Yes. So those are just things I wanted to practice from that right ox because I think they're fun. So now I want to do some thrusting with some alternative footwork because I think that's going to be fun. And I'm going to try not to go too long with this because I still want to do some angry workout stuff. All right. That is also that come from a couple of sources, including one of Ken Monshine's books, which is really, really great. It's mostly for rapier, but it has some really great exercises that are just good for fencing in general. So one of the other things I want to continue to practice of. So let's focus on. So we just had ox. Let's focus on flug a little bit. And what I want to practice doing is moving in the same way. Instead of having that tip that pointed directly towards enemy, I want to take that tip offline, right? I want to just casually sit forward, just either on this side of the knee or on the left side. Instead of having it sit on the left side, when you go to the left side, you still want that left foot back, but have it just hanging out just next to the right knee. Okay. Same thing here. And that way you can also keep this right foot forward and you can still be in right flug, which is nice. Anyway, so here we are in flug. Sword is not threatening our enemy. A, inviting an attack, and B, it's letting you be more comfortable. What I want to practice now is from this flug, I want you to thrust down the middle to like shoot in, down like shooting the long point, einschießen, at shoulder height. But I also want you to step forward, obliquely offline. All right, not too deep. You should be able to quickly recover. Right, you're not going to knock yourself off of balance. But what I want you to do is just enough. Is that if that person was thrusting right down the line, straight at you, that sword, you would be matrix dodging that sword as you were stepping out, like that. All right, so you should be stepping. Just enough to miss to dodge that sword. All right. So let's start here in flug, and we are going to once again step out with our right foot while thrusting in down at shoulder height, straight forward. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, that one was close for me. Good. All right. So let's go back into that same flug. What I want to do now is go the other way. Right? Step out to the left. Again, just enough space to be missing. You're stepping offline to take your body off that thrusting line, but you are counterattacking by shooting in the tip. Well, I think some text just popped in. For the step out to the right, are we assuming the opponent's sword is where are we okay, so where are we assuming the opponent's sword is for that step out to the right? What I would assume is that a thrust is coming in. In this case, let's say they are coming from flug, and they are just thrusting, trying to stab you in the face, okay, or maybe like somewhere in the throat or face, right? And then you are so if I'm say your opponent in this case, I'm maybe here and I'm doing this. It also it could be this, right? Anything that's trying to hit from here to here, all you're doing, stepping offline and taking advantage, right? So any kind of like in this case, and the story for that is again, someone is right in front of you, and they are thrusting down the middle to your face, throat, or chest, and you're taking advantage of that that dedication to their thrust. Same thing on the left side. Someone is doing the same thing, but now we're just going to practice stepping off to this the opposite direction. All right. So into flug on the left, and we are going to then thrust down the middle at shoulder height, and in a counter thrust. All right. So, and into the flug. 10 of these, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. All right. So yeah, so that's just some really, really good basic offline counter thrusting counter thrusting technique stuff. In response to Katie's comment or question about where do we find this cut interpretation, this is from a later 16th, 17th century longsword, German longsword. I'll post a link to it. I don't have the name. It might have been Jacob von Suter. I don't have it off the top of my head because it was something I found in the last week or so. Because I've been looking at one of the things I've been researching a lot is kind of that that transition thing that occurred from longsword to rapier, and how much did things really change versus in that time period, or in how many things do we think changed because people watch Star Wars and watch too many samurai movies. So I'm trying to kind of weave together that kind of legacy of European swordplay a little bit. Again, I'll dig up the link and I'll try to post it on the blog or the website. So these are kind of merging of worlds. And so I'm trying to, and this is something that was brought up to me by another student, or one of the European students, so not one of my students, but one of the Europeans said, who told me when, during, this was like a couple years ago, but your kendo is showing. When you do all this stuff, like, I feel like your kendo is showing. And that's because a lot of modern HEMA has been reconstructed from an exploration of Japanese sword arts versus an understanding, because it wanted to kind of reject a lot of the kind of like modern classical fencing and historical fencing elements. I'm not saying either is right or wrong. I just think it's I'm finding it really, really interesting to kind of dive into it and kind of examining it through kind of what if I bias the information towards a European lens, like kind of the rapier and that historical fencing stuff, versus instead of making a bias towards the Japanese sword arts, which I also study. So in my brain, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's swords. So yeah, again, I'll dig that stuff up, and there's some, especially because there's some really, really interesting stuff with, especially when you look at the Alfred Hutton longsword material, really treats the longsword kind of like saber / rapier. What if like saber and rapier had a baby? And it's really interesting, and I don't know if it's right, but it works, and it's and I think it's kind of like an interesting lens to kind of turn on the material. So that being said, let's feel the burn a little bit. Let's put down our swords. I'm going to preface this with I am not a outside of swords. I am not a exercise instructor or personal trainer in any way. But these are things that were shown to me or I've read about because they're like really really good for working on fencing stuff. Um, Again, like I will attempt for some of this stuff. I will be demonstrating and then doing my best to keep up with, but I have physical limitations. So if you do too, we'll half-ass it together. All right. So the first one of which is we're going to start in this kind of lunging position, kind of a deeper lunge than we're normally doing. It's also you want to get a little bit of a stretch here and bend the knee in. All right, and you can bring your arms together. And what we're going to do is put our arms down and just bring our knee to our hip height and just keep it straight. Here to here. Right, and the big part, and do it slow. I have to do this slowly, but if you can do it faster, great. But the big thing is to focus on keeping the balance, and keeping from here, trying to keep your back straight, and working on that balance of going from here to here. So let's do 10 of these, all right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your legs. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now everyone do 10 push-ups in your own time. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In your own time. All right, so this next one is my least favorite thing, but it's simply doing squats. So if anyone has advice for doing better ones, or if there's any safety issues, let me know. But basically, just squats. And do 10 of these in your own time. I'm going to do my best not to screw up my knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now, so finish your 10. And when we're done with this, what we're going to do is we are going to begin with our feet together. We're going to step out with our left foot, squat, and then back up with the right. And then back, squat, back. And we're going to set a timer here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay. Oh, boy. Shake it out. And then 10 more push-ups in your own time. And when you're done with the push-ups, don't get up quite yet. I want you to plank, and I want you to count for a nice 10 seconds. And 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And rest for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And back into the squatting position, or the lunging position. I think we have time for one more round. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch your feet. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Squats, 10 squats. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Feet together. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 push-ups. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And from the push-ups to a plank, in your own time, count to 10. 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. And that brings us to just about 8 o'clock. If you want to keep going, I say keep going. Give yourself this time to keep working out. If not, do some cool down stretches. And they're very, very important for keeping yourself safe. And we will be doing a video about cool down stretches very, very soon. Otherwise, thank you all so much for coming to the post-Thanksgiving workout class. Hope you all sweat a little bit and had a good time. If you have any other questions, I'm sorry, I saw that Josh popped one question in here. Sorry, I missed this. Or it reminds me a lot of Tristan's quote shitty flu end quote, i.e. Being less overtly offensive. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So Josh is referring to having the flug or the ox kind of offline. Yeah. It's kind of the come hither if you want to fight. Here I am. Let's do it kind of approach. And I think it works really well. It's part of that psychology, right? Something that it's really difficult to work with or kind of experiment with digitally. But yeah, so I'll be on. I'm going to be very, very busy until Monday. I have a really, really big deadline. But if folks have questions, pop them in the Discord. I can't say I'll be able to get to them right away, but I promise I will answer any questions added. I'll be posting this video earlier than I normally would on the YouTube, and I'll post the link as well. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming. And if you get a chance and you're able, please check out my tip jar at ko-fi.com/PeterJHaas. The link will be popping. Oh, it's actually, I think, on screen. Over there? Is it over there? Okay, yeah, all right. It's on screen sometimes. Floats around. I can't always find it now. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming, and I'll talk to you all soon. Night.